Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Between the Studs. I am your host, Daniel, and I am joined today as a special treat by the two co-owners of Atlanta Brick Co.
Chris Cott.
Ed Gaetani.
All right. Oh, I like that.
I
like the flavor there.
Can I re-say my name? I didn't know we could add spice.
Sure. Okay. All right. Are you sure?
I didn't know we could add Italian
we can go
spice
again.
to
We're
it.
joined by our co-owners of Atlanta Brick Co.
Chris Cott.
Oh, okay. Do you want another one too?
Eduardo Miguel Gaetani.
Oh, all right. Well, now it's an awkward transition for me to say that we're talking about the most scandalous sets that LEGO has ever produced, the most controversial, the most upsetting, off-color, problem-riddled, whatever you want to call it. Scandalous LEGO sets is what we're talking about today.
Hey, this isn't for
That's
the
right.
easily offended. All right.
That's a fair disclaimer.
Yeah, but
That's
we're
a fair
gonna do our
disclaimer.
best.
That's right. We're going to try and keep it PC today. So, without further ado, we have each picked our top five scandalous sets that LEGO's ever produced. And we'll just do this round-robin style as we usually do. So who wants to go first?
Chris can go first.
Start with Chris
All
and
right.
we'll go this way?
I'll go first. I'm going to start with an easy one.
Okay, what do we got?
I don't think I even have to say anything about this.
Well, at least say the name of the set for the podcast listeners.
So it's the Majestic Tiger.
Oh yeah, he's majestic, all right.
And he's also known as the Butthole Tiger.
Colloquially, in some circles.
Can we say that?
We can
You
say
can say-
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
can
just
say
the
butthole
body part.
on YouTube.
We could say Anus Tiger or
I don't understand why they had to put
Sphincter
that in there.
Tiger.
Like, why even put that in there? You don't see me putting that in a Build-A-Potty set for Ed.
You know what, though? Everyone was talking about it. It was everywhere. One single pink flower piece.
Just one little flower piece. And I thought they actually had a picture of it on the set, but they don't. But if you look on their website, the product listing, it is definitely there.
I wonder how they got away with that.
They must have added that later.
It's a very cool set. I love it.
It's a great set.
And I think it's awesome that they added proper anatomy to it.
I'm sure it sold better probably than a lot of Creator 3-in-1s in a number of years. Not just because it's a good set, but because it was what everyone was talking about for a long time.
This is the last one that we have. I think the investment value on this set's going to be pretty high.
That's a good one. That's a good one to start out with. I would say that's one of the most recent examples, I would say, of something that was controversial. It was definitely in the news a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where, like, when you're in the LEGO circles, you get, like, all of your family members reaching out to you saying, hey, I read this. Did you hear about this? And it's like, oh, yeah.
2 months ago, but thanks.
2 months ago, and also from 10 different people who have asked me the same thing. But, yeah, that's the way it goes.
You know how many people send me stuff on news on LEGO?
Oh, every time there's an article about how it's worth more than gold, or that Bionicle mask that was selling on Goodwill. I don't know how many people sent me the article about that Goodwill mask. That's the way it goes. All right, I will go next. Let's see which one I want to talk about first. Let's talk about, this is a pretty specific set. This was a Old Town Airport set from 1993. This is called Midnight Transport. Now, we've talked about this on Between the Studs before, I believe probably when we did sets from the year 1993, so you can go check that video out as well. But there's some sketchy things going on in this set from this time period. So we've got these all blacked out vehicles with different like red and yellow racing stripes on it, but they have no less than 5 briefcases that they're transporting between this like armored truck and this jet, and they're full of gold. And it's not like a marked armored truck for like a armored truck company or like a bank truck or anything.
Any white studs in there?
No white studs. You've got a helicopter as well. So there's some exchanging of briefcases and money for something.
So what year did this come out?
1993.
93.
So this is an older one. I don't know if were there some movies maybe that coming out around that time.
Quite often when you see a set like this, it's out based on there's a somewhat
Mission
of a
Impossible
copycat.
or something maybe was coming out at the time.
1993. Maybe if I had some more time to think about it. There was a lot going on in 1993.
Yeah.
There really was.
Yeah. But anyway, you got all these bad actors here shuffling around these briefcases. It's called Midnight Transport, so it's presumably taking place at night.
Any of those characters
Pretty shady.
have Italian names?
They're just town figures.
Okay.
They're just basic. One of them's got like a red jumpsuit on, and one's got like a one does have like an all-black outfit, but it's sleeveless. That is kind of Mission Impossible-esque.
Well, they're both sleeveless, which is kind of funny.
That's true. You're right. They are both sleeveless.
They're sleeveless because it makes them tough guys.
Right. They got the guns out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
actually, there's 3 figures and they're all sleeveless.
Yeah.
Let's see, the pilot is too.
There's 2 copies of that.
You know
one.
what this does kind of remind me of though? The look and the feel of it is Fall Guy, which was done and over with at the time.
Yeah.
I think that ended
was also 80s. Yeah.
But still 93 is early enough that they could do that.
Definitely could be riffing off that. It seems a little shady for Lego, especially for that time period when they were not really doing a lot of stuff like that. All right, that is my first choice. Let's move on to Ed.
Speaking of Italian names,
oh boy, here we go.
the Lego City has some bad guys, and they've got names like Frankie Lupelli, Vito. Mm-hmm. What's up with that?
So I love that Lego started naming their city characters.
Oh, yeah.
Like in Midnight Transport, they did.
They're just
name
they're just people.
But in Frankie Lupelli, then you got a lot of girls. The female robbers all have names today.
Yeah,
and they're all funny names. It just adds to the character.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But what's your problem with this now, Ed?
Why do all the bad guys gotta be Paisan? I don't get it. Like, why?
So you're saying
because nobody complains.
All the criminals with the stripes in the city sets are Italian.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me. That's how I see it. I mean, you don't know what it's like, everybody. You're at somebody's house and they're like, "Oh, you're Italian? I watch The Sopranos all the time." Oh, well then you know all about me, right? It's like nothing to hide here.
Now this one literally looks like the guy from The Simpsons.
Yes.
It's like the mob boss.
Yes.
He's got like the sunken dark eyes. He's got the cheek lines. He's got like a mole or a scar or something. He's got the chest hair coming out of the shirt. How many buttons you got undone?
No T-shirt on underneath his shirt.
Is that 1, 2? That looks like 2 buttons undone. Yeah, this is Vito. This is Vito right here.
Ed, if you turn your head around, do you have a mask on the other side?
Do you have a little mask with 2 eye holes?
See what I deal with, people?
That's funny.
And then Frankie Lupelli. I mean, how do you know he's Italian?
I don't know. Lupelli.
It's amazing that they can get away with that. You make fun of any other. You make the bad guys any other culture, and they're gonna raise something.
Oh, for sure.
You talk to my uncle, and it's like, can you believe what they did? They're calling these people Italian names. He's like, forget about it. Don't worry about it. Forget
pull
about
out Prison Island. Have you got Prison Island over there?
Let's see. Here it is.
I'm trying to find some of these other names.
So all these older, not all the older ones, but any of the city jail sets, the prison sets. He does look Italian.
Yeah.
Actually, both.
He wasn't even a named character, but same thing. They got the slick back hair.
This was before they were doing the named characters. He's got that handlebar mustache.
And the weightlifting.
And he's weightlifting.
He's got a barbell.
Yeah. And the slick back hair. And then what's funny about these prison sets is they're all teaching kids how to break out of jail.
They've been doing that since probably the 80s.
I remember. One thing that's unique about our store is that we've got all the old discontinued sets, like Prison Island. That's a sealed set, and that's pretty old. That's
very hard to come by right now.
2016.
16,
yeah. Okay. And we have 2 of these out there. But he's, it's awesome. I mean, this is what I would want to do with my prison. You got to break out, right? But a kid came in the store one time, and he was like, the mother came in. All my son wants is this old city set. It's a prison. And I'm like, well, we've got the new prison right here. She's like, he doesn't want that prison. He wants the old one. They all look alike, right?
Which one was it?
And I'm like, well, I don't remember.
Just a basic. It wasn't even like
I can
Prison
tell you
Island
the
or like a unique
functionality
one?
of it.
Yeah, okay.
So it looked just like all the others on a regular 32 by 32 baseboard.
Sure.
However, she said, he wanted this because he saw a YouTube video. And the bad guys can lift up the toilet and sneak out through the toilet.
Nice.
That's how I get out.
And I'm like,
nice.
Well, let me see if this new one has it. No, he's breaking out through the wall. All right,
they
sorry.
Got trap doors. They got sewer
can't help you
pipes.
there.
Yeah, no toilet.
But thank goodness for YouTube. They help us sell some of these sets.
Absolutely.
So PSA, ladies and gentlemen, always say I want to see my lawyer. Don't say anything else. I want my lawyer.
Good advice, Ed. Thank you for that.
In what situation would you say
Any
that?
situation that involves law enforcement.
I've never had to say that.
This is going to be our most scandalous YouTube video is what it's going to be. All right, let's circle back. What do you want to talk about next, Chris?
Oh, okay. Let's see. All right. James Bond. Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, it's a black box, and it's a more expensive set, so it is geared towards older kids or adults. This is 16 plus. Do I want my 16-year-old acting like James Bond? No way, no how.
Yeah.
Why?
Is he old enough to watch the movies? Yes. However, if you go back and look at some of the 1970s and 80s James Bonds, the names that are in them, even the good ones with Pierce Brosnan, not good ones. They're all good. Every single James Bond movie so far has been good, even the George Lazenby and Timothy Dalton ones. But me being a big James Bond fan, I know how scandalous James Bond is.
Sure.
Some of the lines in it.
Oh yeah.
Extremely.
He's a womanizer.
He is. He is.
I'll do you one better, Chris. The Speed Champions James Bond one that came out with the actual minifigure, and it's 8+. That's half
there
of
you
16
go.
plus. That's for kids 8 and up. You can get Daniel Craig himself, and you can reenact all of his escapades.
Growing up, the ladies loved Sean Connery. They loved James Bond.
Sure.
It wasn't. I never saw that as scandalous. I mean, like, he's a ladies' man.
Ed,
Every guy wants to be James
I can't
Bond.
Sure,
even
whatever better
say
in the 70s.
some of those
60s and
characters' names on this broadcast.
Yeah.
They're so bad.
Yeah,
Okay.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Would you like me to name them?
Don't do it.
No.
Don't do it.
When I was a kid growing up in the late 70s, early 80s, and all that stuff went over my head.
Sure.
But now as an adult, I go back and watch it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
Yeah.
That wasn't just on Austin Powers where they were making up funny names.
I believe that car. I love Austin Powers. I believe that car was also used in Cannonball Run. Roger Moore did a cameo in the movie, and he drove that car. And Cannonball Run is a race from the East Coast to the West Coast, and they have all these exotic cars and really cool stuff. And Burt Reynolds is in it. What's his sidekick guy? I forget his name. Dom DeLuise.
Aston Martin.
The Aston Martin was the car used by Roger Moore. He played that part. He was a James Bond trying to make his way across the United States. It's cool. It's pretty neat. But that car was also featured in that movie. That's all.
Nice. All right, let's switch gears here, and I'm going to talk about the City Dynamite Factory. So this was a Lego set that was canceled within the last few years, and nobody's really sure why. So this was a rumored Lego set that came out within the past few years, I think around 2022, 2023, and it was in the regular slate of sets rumored to come out. You got your boy Vito in there. You got Duke Detain. You got Daisy Kaboom. So you get the named characters back.
I love those named characters.
There were some really cool stickers on there, and they canceled this set. So I don't know if it was determined that Dynamite was suddenly too violent. I don't know if the Lego Dynamite piece is even still in production.
They've got a water tank to put out any fires on the building.
Yeah, I don't know what the reason would be.
It makes a really good hideout. Is you able to show that on the screen?
Oh, yeah, we'll put the
It makes a really good hideout. You have the dynamite on top. Nobody ever knew you lived there.
Oh, it's great. They did another one that was like an old abandoned sardine factory or something, and that was cool. Like getting abandoned buildings.
I love that set.
Yeah,
that set would have been too popular. That's why they decided not to make it.
That must have been it.
Did they ever leak any of those sets out there? Or did they stop before they did all that?
Not that I know of. I don't know of any physical copies getting out there, but it's possible you might be able to find something on eBay or somewhere else.
You could probably build that here. We could probably build that. Just looking at the picture.
So the official statement from LEGO, which I pulled up here, was, with LEGO City, we always aim to represent the reality of the world in a way that is fun, positive, and appropriate for kids. With this in mind, we have decided not to launch this product as we no longer feel it's in keeping with the values of the LEGO City brand. Pretty generic, but I don't know. I guess they determined it wasn't based in reality to have a dynamite factory. I don't know. It's more like a cartoon. It's something you'd see in Looney Tunes, right? Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote run into the dynamite factory, and then Roadrunner runs out the other side, and the whole thing blows up and collapses. So, I don't know.
I think we should put this disclaimer out there. We're not offended by any of this.
Yeah.
No,
we would love for LEGO to make absolutely everything.
Oh, sure.
But it's just funny. Yeah. And it's fun to talk about.
Yeah. So that is my choice. I definitely wish that they had come out with this set. There were some cool parts in it, some cool stickers there. This like bomb with kind of a cartoony face on it. So I think it would have been a fun one, but obviously you pay more attention to it when it gets canceled and doesn't come out. So All right, Ed, back on to you. What do you got next?
Well, since we're doing this, I want to talk about the military stuff, like the Osprey. They had it, they made it. It was really cool. I loved it, and boom, they canceled. But some got released. We had some here in the store.
Yeah.
And the prices went through the roof. Secondary market went nuts over the Osprey, and people they had a fit. They called Lego complaining, "How dare you? This is a military airplane, whatever." Well, they also use it for rescue. However,
and that's what the set was. I think it was branded as Coast Guard or Rescue or something.
But it was also used in the military. Oh, that plane killed a lot of people. Now, I understand Lego's stance on this. Old Kirk Christensen, he was the old man, the first guy that started everything.
Correct.
And he served in World War I. And he saw the horrors of the war. And when he did start making toys, he did not want to make anything soldiery, military, and I get it, because that was one heck of that was like the war to end all wars. That was a horrible, horrible war. And I believe the Danes did participate. Everybody did. That's why they called it a world war. His son Gottfried Kirk Christensen. I guess he just took over that mindset and didn't want to make anything military. However, we've got sets that have military in them. So, like the Indiana Jones sets, right?
Oh, the Indiana Jones sets are as bad can be. As far as bad guys go.
Oh my gosh,
set, the 77012 set has got the B109, but it doesn't have the markings on it, but it's definitely a B109. Daimler-Benz makes the B109. We've got a German pilot. We have a German soldier. And we have another German soldier.
And in the movie, these were
Africa.
Nazis, right?
They would have been Nazis.
Yeah.
So I like set 7622, Race for the Stolen Treasure. It's got a military truck in it. It's a German military truck. 7625, River Chase. It's got one of those amphibian military vehicles. I can go on. 7626.
Those were the Russians too, weren't they?
That one was the Russian.
Those had CCCP on them.
They had stickers did they really? I don't
the
recall.
Hammer and Sickle was on some of those, I think.
I don't recall that either. I don't think so.
I know for sure CCCP.
And this is set 7683, the Flying Wing, which we're missing some parts to it, but yeah,
just one of
maybe that came off when I picked it up. But yeah, it's like, okay, so we're not going to make military, but we're going to make military. I mean, what are we doing, So yeah, there's that.
And and then you get Star Wars, and it's all guns and fighting and military. I mean, look what they did. Look at the Death Star did the Alderaan.
I think blew up a whole planet. And
that's
Ben
awful.
Kenobi felt the screams of millions of people and stuff.
Yeah. But they have a clean conscience because they don't do military stuff unless it's IP.
Personally, I think they're leaving a lot of money on the table. I think there's so much you can do with it, especially for historical purposes. I mean, history's there for you to be offended, so you can learn from the past. And
okay, so I've always thought this. So, and this goes into a lot of different things, but it's an interesting discussion, I think. All right, so take that off, and you've got, so these are the military bad guys, right?
Right.
Military anything. This is Fort Legorado. That is the U.S. military.
Yeah.
That some people would say those soldiers, Custer and his, kind of went out and did some bad things.
They did some bad things.
They exploited a group of people.
Yeah. So, at what point in history, and then you've got your medieval knights.
Sure.
They are military. And some of those factions did some pretty bad things.
Yeah.
But at what point in time is it okay to say, hey, we'll do this military because it's old enough.
Right.
But we won't do this military. And I think, and this is way off topic.
How's the expression go? Tragedy plus time equals children's toys?
This is way
right.
This is so far
the
off
Titanic?
Topic. But you know how, like, when you find an ancient graveyard or gravesite and you dig it up and it's like, oh, look at this, we found these people and we're researching them and we're doing DNA
the threshold
tests,
between grave robbing and archaeology?
And we're finding all this
50
treasure,
Viking heads in a burial ground.
And they dig it up and excavate it, but then it's too soon to do, I don't know, 1800s, maybe 1700s. So where is that threshold that says, okay, it's okay to rob this grave, but not this grave?
A lot of people would argue that there is no threshold. I mean, Egypt right now is reclaiming a lot of things that were taken by, like, the British Museum and things like that.
I think we just need to come to grips with humanity. We are a violent group of people. Our history, our whole time span that we've been on this planet, we've been killing each other. We're doing nasty things to one another.
We're getting real deep here.
we gotta
pull it back. Well, so that's the thing, right? In a children's toy, you have the good guys and you have the bad guys, right? The reality is that good people do bad things too, right? So you could argue, present it as a children's toy so that children get interested in it, and as they get older, they continue to learn about it and learn more about it. You said something interesting.
You said good guys and bad guys. In war, there is the enemy. They both think they're good.
That's true.
So there's that.
And that's one thing I like about the Marvel movies is they humanize the bad guys. Sure. So like Thanos.
Yeah.
There were lots of people that said, "Wow, Thanos kind of had a point."
That's a big thing.
Thanos is the Illuminati, y'all. That's like, but that's a whole nother video,
But also, Falcon Winter Soldier. The bad guys were humanized.
Yeah.
And that was such a cool concept.
It's good because it's real. I mean, it's realistic.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So off that topic, but while we're talking about Fort Legorado, Daniel, do you want to talk about
sure. I'll go ahead and jump into it.
Indian one?
So we had a couple with this one. So I had Fort Legorado, really all of the Western sets that were produced. There were a number of them that had Native American characters in it, as well as there was one set in particular from the Homemaker line that had some even worse representation of Native Americans. So we'll show up a picture here, but we won't talk about it too much. But the Lego Western set is an interesting one that comes up for a lot of people because of the way that those characters were portrayed. Something that's also interesting is in the Smithsonian Museum of Native American History or Indigenous Peoples History. I forget what the exact name of it is, but in DC there's a Smithsonian Museum that's all about Native Americans, and they have in a display that's all about like representation of Native Americans in children's toys. They have a Lego Western set in there as part of that display. Now they're not like presenting it as which ones were better or which ones were worse, but it is in that slate of things, So I think that's kind of interesting as a part of Lego's history that they're displayed as part of that Smithsonian exhibit. But
and we're not taking any stances one way or another, and we're not making this political. It's just very interesting, and it's scandalous.
For sure. Definitely a product of its time that has not aged very well, one might say.
Well, look at the use of cannons. They got cannons.
Sure, it was also very military.
Obliterate you.
Absolutely. There was the Lego chess video game. There was the Lego chess computer game, and it had the cowboys and the Native Americans, and they would, shoot cannons at each other, and they would go after each other, and it was all very, cartoon violence, classic Lego style humor, but.
So even, of course, this is 1990s, but which was a little more okay back then. Or less scandalous back then, which is why they did it. But, I mean, if you really think about it, Lego has a hard time making anything kid-friendly to everybody's standards and not offending somebody in today's day and age.
And I think now their cover-up for it is they just do those things based on licensed intellectual properties. So, anybody reasonably would have said Lego will likely never do Western again. But they did the Lone Ranger because it was okay. Because it wasn't the Lego group choosing to do it.
So anything bad they put out in Star Wars, they can just blame it on Star Wars.
Indiana Jones.
It was in Star Wars.
Yeah,
it was
we're
in
just
Indiana
making
Jones.
Indiana
It's not
Jones.
us.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the reason why they're doing that.
Right.
That's very interesting. Speaking of the Star Wars things they can do that could be controversial and bad, do you want to talk about Are you going to talk about the Tusken Raider set?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that one, too.
Do we have a Tusken Raider set?
We do not have one with us, but this is the original Tusken Raider Encounter set. And Encounter is an interesting word choice here. So this is a very small set. This was from, I believe, the original 99 wave, if not one of the other first few waves there. But you get You get Anakin on his speeder, which he takes to said encounter, and then you get 2 Tusken Raiders, presumably men. We don't get any of the women and children too, and a little moisture evaporator. But all they really needed was the little tent and Anakin's mom, and you would have had the whole scene. I mean, the rest of the village there—that's 2 guys you can cut in half.
I never noticed that.
This is the speeder bike that he takes to slaughter all of the Tusken Raiders.
I never noticed that.
Those poor Tusken Raiders.
I killed the women and the children.
Yeah.
I hate them.
Yeah, I slaughtered them like animals.
That wasn't the first time Anakin killed children, right?
That's true. That was his start. That's where he got started.
No, that was the first. Did you say was or was
not? Well, that's not the only time.
The only time.
That wasn't the only time.
That's what got him started. Yep. You warm up with the less than human beings, then you go
sorry,
right on
2002, so this was actually a little later on. This was a few waves in. Interesting.
Wow.
Interesting. And they still chose to make that. I was going to try and give them the benefit of the doubt and say maybe...
2002, that was when the movie came out, I think. That was
that time, yeah. It was that time zone, yeah.
Because Phantom Menace came out in 99, I think.
So you could potentially argue that maybe Lego was just given like preliminary information about it, and maybe they
may not even have known.
They may not have known.
I know. I just put it together just now when you started talking.
They may have just said, "Hey, there's this scene where Anakin's on this speeder bike, and it looks like this, and there's some Tusken Raiders."
I'm sorry for making all these transitions, but speaking of things,
no, it's more natural.
Sorry for things Lego didn't know. All right.
Yeah, go for it.
Lego didn't know about this one.
Oh.
When they put this good old boy in the set.
Snuck by.
Oh, boy. Yeah, they didn't.
So, when this came out, it was...
What's the name of the set?
Okay, yeah, for anyone listening. It's the Wolverine's Chopper Showdown. And it's got Wolverine, Deadpool, and Magneto.
Yeah.
And there's 2 things this was based on. There was that first Wolverine movie that came out, where he fought Magneto, and Deadpool made a cameo in it.
Yeah.
And then there was also a cartoon, which I think is why they put Deadpool in this, based on the cartoon.
Okay.
Because in that cartoon, he was funny. He broke that, what's it, the fourth wall?
Fourth wall, yeah.
He broke the 4th wall. He's that Deadpool that we all know and love. However, he was for kids. He was a smart, kind of like Bart Simpson.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was okay for kids, but it pushed the limit, right?
Yeah.
So they put him in that set, and then they came out with the movie a couple years later, and I would be surprised if they ever do anything with Deadpool again.
I wish they did.
I couldn't see it happening.
Wolverine Deadpool movie came out. I was hoping.
They didn't do it this time.
I know. I was hoping.
I think they would have to let it die down for a while if they're going to. Once he stops appearing in things, maybe after a while, but... I mean, look at this. Certified pre-owned for $300.
Chris, when we opened our store, that set came out, right? When was that? 2015? 2014?
2012.
Oh, was it 2012? Okay, because we had those sets in our store. We had, when the Wolverine movie came out, that's what I mean. Like, that was 2 years later, right? When the Deadpool movie came out. That was 2 years later.
I don't know.
But kids would come in. These 8-year-old kids would come in. We just went to see Deadpool. I'm like, oh, really?
2016 was when the first Deadpool movie came out.
Right, and this was from the Wolverine movie. When Wolverine jumps on top of the helicopter, that's what I thought that was from. And he cuts the helicopter blades with his claws.
Yeah.
That's what I thought that was from. And they said, they
the
added
scene.
a couple minifigs in there.
However, Deadpool was popular not because of that movie, but because of number one, the comic book.
Right.
I had all of the comics. I was a huge collector at that time in the early 90s when he first appeared. Was it X-Force or X-Men?
X-Men.
And so I was into him, but not that into him. But then once I saw him, my son is 19 now, so back then he and I were watching those cartoons together, and we were both like, "Oh man, Deadpool is so funny."
Yeah.
Yeah, some kids became adults that year. Pretty darn
well,
quick.
not until the movie came out.
Dad and Mom and Dad
I
had
just
lots
thought
to
of another
explain.
scandal too tied to this set. The Deadpool figure was showing up in bulk on Bricklink.
Yeah, this is kind of a aftermarket
talk
scandal.
about that.
Sure. Yeah, that's worth mentioning.
That was just a few years ago, and he was showing up in bulk, and it was Deadpool was like a $50, $60 figure, but you could buy him 50 at a time from these sellers out in California on Bricklink. and they were selling them for like $15 each, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we've got to get some of these. That's a great deal. So we bought some, and then we noticed that the head was, there's a difference in the head between the one that comes in this set and the one that we were getting from Bricklink.
I believe it was supposed to be blocked open stud, and we were getting hollow stud.
One of those. Yeah. That or vice versa. I can't remember which. I can't keep track. There's so much to keep track of. And what was happening is in the Lego factory in China, the rumor is that somebody went in and started printing a whole bunch of Deadpool minifigures and selling them on the black market. Mm-hmm. So they were real Lego figures made without their permission.
Right.
In their factory.
So that would be
similar to like all of the transparent minifigures that we get. Like they've got Lego molded in them, but they're not authorized to be made.
Yeah.
They're made in the Lego factory, but they're not. Yeah.
Right. It's amazing how many of those you see. I mean, how does that happen?
Yeah. Well, and my other thing is, why Deadpool? Because there were figures that were worth a lot more than $50 at that time that they could have been making.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
You know what made them choose that? I don't know if it was because
maybe
simple colors.
Maybe they didn't have the means, the software saved in that machine.
Maybe for the print
to make
files.
That figure. I mean, you would think it would take more than one person to go in and print off 100,000 Deadpool minifigures.
Are you saying there were people conspiring? Are you saying there was a conspiracy?
Yeah.
Is this your theory about a conspiracy?
Talk about scandalous, right?
That's a conspiracy theory right there.
Yeah. So
they were conspiring.
Of course, that's all just rumor and hearsay.
Sure.
However, there's a lot of truth to it.
Yeah, you know, we may never know exactly what happened, but, you know, go home and check your Deadpool, see which version it is, especially if you know that it actually came in the set originally. All right, what do we got left? I did a couple out of order. Let's see, what do you want to talk about next? You want to do one, Ed?
Yeah, I want to talk about this.
Oh, yeah,
this
is a good one
here. This isn't the set that that has the controversy. This is not the one.
Correct.
The Jabba's Palace set is what we're talking about. This is just
This is Boba Fett's
Palace. But the one before that, Jabba's Palace, I thought it looked fine. It looked like his palace does in the movies. Mm-hmm. But some people had a fit. They had to complain to Lego because in this internet world, there's so many people that are nobodies that are trying to be somebodies and go nowhere blogs that have to get butthurt over the dumbest stuff. And they're like, that looks like a mosque. And you're saying what, Hagia Sophia? That thing's way too big.
That's what the article says, which doesn't make sense.
The Hagia Sophia is way too big.
It has 4 turrets around it, pillars. And it's a large,
It's a huge dome. Now, Dome of the Rock? Maybe, but even then, that's not a mosque.
So the story is it was a Turkish cultural center in Austria. So riddle me that. I don't know.
Unless you say, hey, I modeled this from a Turkish temple. Otherwise, it's just a building with a dome on it. Well, can I get offended because it looks like the Florentine chapel? No.
Sure.
Come on.
They said the model of Jabba's Hutt's domed palace, the Turks say, looks too much like Istanbul's sacred Hagia Sophia monument.
No way.
The missiles, guns, and weapons are questionable. I remember there were also some complaints about just like the generic portrayal of Jabba the Hutt as a gangster and their association, and it just all felt like a lot of a stretch.
So Lego's official stance was, it's not true. That's not why they stopped producing it. Because they came out with a lot of them.
It ended around the same time. The production run of that set.
They did a full production run, but they didn't do another production run. And people said it was because of those complaints.
Right.
And it probably was because there was a lot of news out about people complaining about it.
Here's the quote. The terrorist Jabba the Hutt likes to smoke hookah and kill his victims. It is clear that the figure of the ugly villain Jabba and the whole scene serves up racial prejudice and vulgar insinuations. I'm not even going to finish reading that sentence. It doesn't go anywhere.
I just don't see it.
When they made this one, they definitely...
Well, and that's the thing. They went back and they did it again. It's based off the same thing. They made a few minor adjustments, and there was some speculation about whether or not they changed it because of that, but...
Yeah,
it's just a tan building to me.
Yeah, they took a little bit of the dome off the center,
right?
beyond that, I don't think they really changed it all that much. So
I'm offended because Jabba wasn't called Vito or Giuseppe or something.
Yeah.
There was his Jabba's cousin, Zero the Hutt.
Zero the Hutt. Yeah, I wish they'd made that figure. That would have been really cool.
That was one of the only Hutts that didn't speak Huttese. Yeah. Very strange. Annoying character. I can't stand Zero.
Oh, I loved Zero. Right. Man, I thought he was hysterical.
He was
Jar Jar I can get down with, but Zero the Hutt, can't stand.
Oh, no, I can't get down with Jar Jar.
Can't stand him.
I'm just so glad they made an evil Jar Jar. I can accept that.
Oh, yeah.
I can accept the Sith Jar.
Fantastic. All right, Chris, you got something else you want to talk about?
I've got 3 more over here.
Do another one. How about you got another Star Wars set over there?
I do, yeah. So
let's do that.
This is there's a few things going on with this set. This is Palpatine's arrest. Number one, it's a totally awesome set. This is an absolutely killer set.
Due for a remake.
However, the scene in the movie was such a letdown, especially now that we know more about those characters. Kit Fisto, Mace Windu, these are the strongest, most powerful Jedi in the galaxy, all coming to kill Palpatine. And Palpatine, it's not even a good fight. Palpatine's just whoop, whoop,
dispatches them
done.
in seconds.
I think that was the biggest problem was they didn't make it out to be as epic of a battle
this
as
scene could have been a movie in itself.
Yeah, this was the turning point of the entire prequel trilogy.
This was such an epic scene.
Well, so they had to lose, right? You have to write the scenes so they lose.
Yeah, but you could at least let
But
them
it
fight.
was a little.
I hope they go back.
Lackluster.
I hope Star Wars goes back and redoes this scene. No different outcomes. Just build the characters a little bit more.
Sure.
Make it a little more epic of a loss. Make it look like they're kind of powerful. Mace Windu, and he dies. Come on. Not spoiler alert.
Well,
at this point, also, Ian McDiarmid was not a young guy, so I'm sure the choreography was a little tricky.
Well,
so
he's a Sith, so I get it. He's powerful, but you make the fight last so long, 3 seconds. What are they?
He cuts 2 of the 3 of them down. Pretty much, they're just standing there in the doorway, and they just ragdoll. Pretty much.
If you blink your eye, the scene's over. It's treason then, and that's it. It's like okay, they're all dead.
Mace Windu put up the most fight, which was great. It was great that he got that moment. And
I heard during production, Mace Windu says, "I don't want to go down like a bleep."
Yeah,
and George Lucas was like, "Yeah, you're right. Let's give you some little bit longer fight scene."
Yeah, right.
Because if it was up to Lucas, probably all of them would have been dead in seconds.
Yeah, so he gets his hand cut off like everybody else. Yeah. He gets pushed out of a window. Nobody really knows if he died or not. But yeah, interesting choice.
And so I would put this along those lines of that Tusken Raider ambush set.
Sure, it's a very violent scene.
In that, it's almost like Jedi genocide.
Yeah. But it's Star Wars. That's part of war. As soon as Lego decided to make Star Wars, they picked something with war right in the title. Yep. So that's why a lot of people kind of had criticisms about, Lego always says that they're not going to do military stuff, but you're doing fantasy military.
And if you look at production runs, of course, Lego doesn't release production numbers. Right. I would say they made less of this set than Jabba's Palace. And this was during the same time, because I think it's the same box as Jabba's Palace, isn't it? Same box art?
Almost the same size. I think the Jabba's Palace is a little taller.
No, it's the same box art.
Same box art.
It would be about the same time.
Let me verify that.
I would say they made less of these than Jabba's Palace. That would be my assumption. Because this is a very rare set. These minifigures go for a lot of money.
Oh yeah, and that's
only
most of the value in it is a lot of those exclusive.
Well, Kit Fisto's in a couple sets, but they all have capes in this set, which distinguishes him from the Arc 170 set.
Yep, you're right, Chris. It does have the same box art.
Same box art.
2012. All right, let's see. What do we want to do next? You got another one, Ed? I've only got one left.
What this is doing here?
Oh, that's my last one. You ready for my last one?
Yeah, I guess.
All right, to round us out today, we have none other than the infamous Marcel, individual you may have heard a lot about here on Atlanta Brick Co. TV. This is, I'm just going to say it, this is an old man who hangs out with young girls.
What's wrong with old men?
All right, Heart Lake City is full of nail salons, shopping malls, pet stores, boutiques, where all these girls go shopping around, and you've got this old guy hanging around.
So Grandpa can't take the little girls out for ice cream.
Okay, the problem is his name, his clothing. He looks creepy.
He's the only old guy there.
Now, mind you, I would not enjoy a day out of hanging out with teenage girls.
Now, there's nothing wrong with the name Marcel. There is not.
If I had a granddaughter.
However, you put it on this character, and it sounds a little creepy.
Didn't you guys make a Marcel with a shirt on?
Yes. So there's only two. As much as we talk about Marcel, there's only two sets that he appears in. So one of them is this one, the organic farm.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense, right? He could be the owner of the farm. He lives there. He works there. Whatever.
Eat clean, kids.
The other set is just the Heart Lake City Organic Cafe, and
so Grandpa's looking to eat clean, and
yeah. When's the last time you saw a guy rocking the horseshoe hair, all white, hanging out in an organic cafe with a teenage girl and her younger sister? Maybe.
Yeah. He's the grandpa. He's the grandpa.
Yeah, he probably goes in there every day, and he probably bugs her and asks her for her number, and asks her what time she gets off work.
Carrot juice.
Yeah,
It's just regardless. Yeah. Regardless, I'm a kid playing with this set. I don't want Marcel in this set.
No.
He's the last person I care about. I want River. River's cool. Priyanka.
You're a kid with this set. No, cool. you're a parent whose kid gets this set. You don't want.
But I'm a kid. I'm not playing with a grandpa. Character.
That's not what they're buying friends for.
I'm playing with the young cool kids.
Right. It's not what they're buying Lego friends for. So he's I don't know. I don't like it. Maybe you feel differently.
He's an interesting character, and he spices up our lives a lot.
He does. You can find Marcel in our city here at the store in Bricklanta. You can do a little I Spy and find out where Marcel's hanging out. He's in a dark alley in the back. All right, that was my last set. What all y'all have left?
Well, I kind of wanted to get into this the hidden side thing. So
yeah, let's do it.
We're not going to do violence and murder and destroying and killing, mass murdering and all that. But we're going to do stuff on demons, ghosts, and
possession.
This figure here who's possessed.
Yeah.
So it's okay to talk about that kind of stuff? It's okay to have toys that are this kind of scary looking? I mean, they had the Monsters line. That's cool. It's everything. But actually possessed stuff. The story is about what was Newberry Town, right? Mm-hmm. And Newberry is getting haunted by these ghosts, and these kids are trying to bring Newberry back to. It's like a Ghostbusters Lego style thing.
Sure,
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, get it. That's cool. But some of these things are kind of. I mean, they're cool, but they're creepy.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a problem with these as the minifigures. It was kind of interesting that, like, you could swap out their heads and their hair, a lot of them, to have, like, their possessed versions and their non-possessed versions. What I think was probably scarier was the actual app. So, like, take a look at the picture of that on there. That's pretty scary right there.
Lady E.
Lady E.
If you want to look at Lady E.
And she's terrifying. She's got, like, tentacles coming out of her hair or something. She's got red eyes and this, like, torn open mouth. That's very scary.
I'm just glad they didn't put a Lego Ouija board in there, and I don't recommend anyone play with those things.
I don't think they'll ever
opening doors you can't close.
I don't think they'll ever do that. I mean, I don't think they're ever going to have, like, a priest doing an exorcism or anything like that.
They're almost there.
The girl crawling out of the TV. Yeah, I think there's a pretty hard line there.
Ed, I'm kind of like how you feel about Marcel. I feel about this. I don't see anything scandalous there. They're ghosts. They're bad guys.
Yeah.
My thing was like, okay, so we're not going to make anything about destruction and weapons and war, but we're going to talk about possessed satanic beings. Okay.
Yeah.
But you know what's even more scandalous than this is Hidden Side Series 2, right?
Go on.
Well, they produced
19 sets in total of the Hidden Side, I think, right? 19 sets altogether.
They hardly made any production run of Hidden Side Series 2, and the prices on those sets skyrocketed because they canceled it right after they made some, and then they sent them to stores by accident or something like that. Kind of like the Osprey.
They're out there, yeah.
Oh, why did they stop it then? Did they say why?
The sales weren't
maybe
good
because of me.
Probably.
Oh,
yeah, because of you.
Because of me.
Yeah,
because of me. Guys
you were
complaining
about it. Yeah. So Hidden Side Series 2 is extremely collectible. They had the mystery minifigures. in the boxes.
Yep.
They had the castle set, which everybody wanted. They had the clowns in that series.
Wait, they did
right?
mystery sets and are you thinking of video series too?
That was video, yes.
Yeah.
That was that's the same thing.
There was still a
too.
short production run of that later wave of Hidden Side, and they've definitely gone up in value. But
the Hidden Side
those
castle,
video minifigs.
That Hidden Side castle skyrocketed.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wanted that,
yeah.
and they canceled it before it officially came out. But then a whole
remember when they canceled Ninjago? It was doing so well, and then they stopped it, and then they had to do a reboot.
No, I don't think they officially canceled it yet. They said they were, and then
there was one year
there was an
after
outcry
2011 they stopped, and then everybody and I thought they were nuts. I don't know why they did that.
For some reason, I think it was 2013 that they said they were gonna cancel it, and then everybody was like, "No, you're not doing this."
Because that's what I think most of the Lego based themes run for. The standard run is 2 to 3 waves, 2 to 3 years. So that would have been the natural life cycle for it. And because it was so popular, they kept it around.
So here's a little scandal right here. This guy right here, he looks kind of like a country folk. He's a country guy, right? His name's Waylon.
Ooh, Waylon.
Waylon.
Okay, I get it. That's pretty good.
Brickens.
Kind of like Waylon Jennings.
Just a good old boy.
All right, what do you got left over there for us, Chris?
I've actually got 2. This is, it's scandalous in a way. It's the Back to the Future. It's the first DeLorean. And what they did is they made 2 versions of this set, which you would never know and they don't admit to. But they misprinted the flux capacitor on the inside. And they spelled shield wrong.
Shield eyes.
They switched the I and the E around.
Ooh,
and
I before E, except after C.
So that's the printed tile, and you don't really see a difference in price. So it looks to me like they did the first run. I don't know. Let's say they made 100,000 sets. They made the first run wrong. Then they came out with another 100,000, and they did it right. So there's just about the same amount of mistakes as correct sets out there. Because one's not really worth more than the other. Yeah. And they've done this with a number of them. They did it with the Steamboat Willie set, right?
Yeah, so I was going to bring that up. It's interesting that this does not carry any additional value because this is a misprint on an actual Lego piece, or I forget if it was a sticker or a printed element. But a lot of those other typos and errors, so yeah, you had Steamboat Willie, which had the wrong Lego Ideas set number on it. That's just on the packaging.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a cardboard box.
Right.
You had the UCS gunship, which had the Imperial logo instead of the Republic logo. So they've made a couple, typographical or
typographical faux pas.
Iconography typos. But it's interesting that the one that's on the actual set does not carry more value because I think that's pretty unique in that regard.
So I reckon that it's because they made the same amount of both.
Yeah.
Close to it. And then the other thing is this is such an overpriced set to begin with. So with the misspelled version, I think you can see it on the box and on the piece.
Yeah.
And
oh gosh, no way to tell unless you open it up.
Can't see the piece.
Yeah.
But this is such an overpriced set and has appreciated in value so much that's why there's no difference. It's kind of surpassed that value.
If you have to get a DeLorean, just get the big size set.
Well, this is the minifigure scale one.
Right. The big one's cool though, and you get 2 minifigures with it.
The big one is good. I'm glad it came with minifigures, even though it was
new prints
a
of
larger
Doc
one.
and McFly.
Okay, yeah. So it was a printed element because I was gonna say if it was a sticker, Lego likely would have sent you like a replacement sticker sheet. Now it's possible if you had written to Lego at the time, they might have sent you a replacement of the printed part as well. Their customer service is typically pretty good about that.
Oh, and Finch Dallo, don't forget about him.
Gosh, wow, we didn't talk about that at all. Why don't you tell us about Finch Dallo, Chris?
What they showed a picture of him on the box, but they didn't put him in the set. They put a different character in there. So if you wrote to Lego, if you didn't get Finch Dallo in the set, you could write to Lego and they would send him.
You talking about the bomber set?
Well, so it was the Resistance bomber.
Yeah.
Okay. So the original production run of the set had just a completely different character in it, like a generic no-name character. Because I imagine the set was based on some preliminary concept art from Star Wars, And I think later on, once some more information about the character came out, I guess Lego decided to switch it because there was already kind of a controversy there. And then, there was a thing where they had switched the box art and it wasn't necessarily matching up with what was actually coming in the set. So for a while, you could actually write to Lego and they would just send you the parts. I don't even think they would send you the whole minifigure. I think it was like just his head and maybe the hands or the helmet or something. And those are the expensive parts for him. So
he goes for what now? I mean,
a lot. I don't even know
over
$500.
Yeah,
probably.
But there was a time when you could call Lego and ask them to send you that Cloud City Boba Fett, and they would have sent it to you. They would have sold you the Cloud City Boba Fett.
I don't know about back then.
No,
maybe.
Back then you could have done that. They stopped doing it shortly after that.
Daniel
Lego
and I
stopped
weren't
doing
alive
that.
back then. So.
No.
Yes.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
How do you like that?
2003. Yeah, I was what, 6?
Okay.
And the Resistance. Speaking of the Resistance bomber, that whole line is scandalous because how bad the movie was.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. I'll let you get away with that one.
Yeah.
And
I'll let you have
here's
that.
the Resistance bomber. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the girl on the Resistance bomber in the movie that was trying to stop it from blowing up, that was Rose's sister.
Right. Well, yeah. Right.
And she was cool.
Yeah.
A lot cooler than Rose.
Rose. All right, he said it.
I wanted to see...
Rose was the nerdy sister.
I wanted to see more of Rose's sister
Yeah.
instead of Rose. That's just my opinion, and I'll leave it at that.
Rose's sister.
They wrote great characters for their stories, and they just didn't utilize them right. There was a great plot line supposedly for Finn where he was gonna like become a Jedi and all this stuff, and it just got thrown away.
Great idea, great thought pattern.
Yeah.
The first part of him getting breaking was cool.
Yeah.
Him picking up a lightsaber and being able to use it on day one, no. Number one.
That was already pushing it.
Rey picking up a lightsaber and being able to use it on day one. No, I don't get it. Kylo Ren was the master lightsaber user in the galaxy at the time, minus
it seemed like they just started making choices to get a strong reaction of people rather than making choices that actually made sense.
They skipped, for us true Star Wars fans, I thought they just skipped too much.
Yeah. All right, we're just complaining about the sequels now.
Yeah,
what else we got? We got one set left, Chris?
I've got one. Ed, do you have anything left?
I'm good. I'm done.
Daniel?
No,
Okay.
I'm tapped out.
All right, here we go. There's not much more to say.
I can't believe you saved this
Chima.
for last. I can't believe you saved this for last.
One. Why not?
So, Chima was, in my opinion, it was a good idea. My son loved Chima. I know
it's okay
a lot
to have
of
your
kids
opinions.
that were really into Chima at the time that it came out. Elementary school kids in 2015 love Chima. It's a good concept. The bad
Graduated
guys.
high school in 2015.
You can't say anything bad about making the bad guys animal characters, right? I mean, it's Fabuland 2.0.
Oh, I mean, you can.
You know,
I won't.
I guess you could.
But I won't.
However, what's scandalous about this, you might ask?
Is that their eyes are inside their heads. They're wearing animal helmets. That's
Animal
face. That's my
No,
problem with it.
no. Here we go. Here we go. So,
this is a real.
This came out in 2015, and I had read the Game of Thrones series, and I was watching the movie, and then this came out, and I was like, "This is Game of Thrones in the Lego children's universe."
Go
So
on.
this
I
is
want to hear this.
This is a theory of your own devising, or this is something that you read about?
My
online
theory.
somewhere?
My theory.
This is
And
this
I
is a Chris
bet
original.
it's out there. I bet it's out there on the internet. Yeah, I guarantee you. Go ahead and.
If it's not, it
look
is
it up.
now. If not, it is now.
All right, go on the interwebs, on the World Wide Web, and look this up. So, whoever invented Chima or came up with the storyline definitely had watched Game of Thrones and was influenced by it. So you've got all these different animal factions, all these, coming together, allying, battling each other, because there was at least 2 seasons of Chima, the cartoon, because we were watching it. And you've got the alligators, you've got the birds, you've the crows, the ravens or whatever, the eagles, the lions, the
Have you watched
tigers,
the
the
cartoon?
bears, the beavers.
Have you watched the cartoon?
Yeah.
Did they ever say a lion always pays its debts? Or no?
Maybe.
Maybe.
So yeah,
Maybe.
almost.
Did they have a dwarf lion?
lamb.
They did. They did have little people.
So I found one article here that's drawing a few comparisons. So the Lion Temple in Chima could be similar to Casterly Rock, the Lion Palace in Game of Thrones.
Wow, Chris,
you've got
that's
the
amazing.
Eagle Castle in Chima is somewhat similar to the Eagle Castle or the Eyrie or Eyrie in
Those aren't even
Game
it,
of Thrones.
Those aren't even it. Okay,
just
so
all of the factions and the sigils.
all the factions, the way that they're if you watch the cartoon, you can see it if you're familiar with Game of Thrones. So it's the way that they're all siding with each other and battling each other. They're fighting over the chi. However, in season 2, it already seemed like Game of Thrones, but in season 2 of Chima, the bad guys, they all have to band together and fight the bad guys. The bad guys are ice zombies coming from the north.
Oh, wow,
and they've got
really?
Mungus, who was a undead ice zombie giant.
Did they make that into a set?
Now, was that
Yes.
Was that
Yes.
Was that the Mungus or just a Mungus?
Or
that was the Mungus.
It wasn't.
That was his name. Mungus. And I mean, talk about a total parallel with Game of Thrones. Tell me that's not. Doesn't it sound like
that
it?
sounds a lot.
No,
like
finish your
that,
previous
now
sentence.
that
Tell
you
you that's
mention
not.
that.
Tell you that's not like Game of Thrones, because I'll tell you it's not like Game of Thrones.
That's just like Game of Thrones.
Okay, all right. You're entitled to your opinions. You're entitled to your
I mean,
opinions.
I see where you're going. I mean, but you've got an antagonist, you've got the protagonist, people fighting over stuff. And that's pretty much any storyline.
Ice zombies
when you mention
coming
the ice
from the
zombies,
north
that
are giants.
okay, I cannot go any further than that.
Yeah.
Once you said the ice zombies, I'm like, oh, okay. Gee, maybe that the creators did watch Game of Thrones.
And then they have to band together to fight them.
It's like, wow. Could you imagine in the pitch room? Hey guys, I got an idea.
Yeah.
Let's get some ice zombies involved.
I
Greg,
would
where'd you get
love
that?
to hear you make your full case for this in the form of an MLA formatted essay, intro, conclusion, supporting evidence,
How
body
many pages?
paragraphs. Probably at least 3 to 5.
It probably wouldn't be hard for
Dude,
Chris
I could
to do that.
I can do 10 pages.
Probably.
All right, let's get a whole dissertation on it.
Okay.
Why not? A thesis maybe.
Turn it into a blog post.
Sure. Love to hear
Call
it.
YouTube up, have them come out and film it.
Sure, John YouTube.
Yeah.
And get him on the horn.
Yeah.
See what he thinks about it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, I think that does it for us for today for Scandalous Lego sets. Lots of scandals, lots of conspiracies, lots of controversies. So we appreciate y'all joining us here for another episode of Between the Studs. Please hit that like button on your way out. We would really appreciate it. Feel free to subscribe to Atlanta Brico TV to get more awesome Lego-related content. And we will see you next time on Between the Studs. Thank you, Chris.
Hey,
one
one more thing. Tell us what you think is a scandalous set in the comments.
That's right. I'm sure we missed a lot. I'm
Yeah.
sure we missed a lot.
Let us know what you think about Chris's theory on the Game
And
of
we
Thrones.
will add those to Scandalous Sets Part 2.
There you go. There
Yeah.
you go. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Ed, for joining us. We will see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.